All right, so here. This question is the 2013 FRQ number 1, the song list. So, let's see, it says a music website keeps track of downloaded music. For each download, the site uses a download info object to store a song's title and the number of times it has been downloaded. A partial declaration of the download info class is shown below. So here's your download class and download info class, and when it's created, a title is passed in, and this download info class knows how to get the title, and it knows how to increment the times it was downloaded, okay? So pretty easy. This is all download info knows, okay? Make that a little bit larger for you guys. All right, so the list of downloaded information is stored in a music downloads object. Okay, so it's going to create a list of download information, okay? So you can have a list of objects. It's no different than a list of strings or a list of integer objects, okay? So we're going to be using array list here, all right? So the music downloads class has a private variable that is a list that holds download info objects, okay? And it's called download list. All right? So when you create a music downloads object, the constructor gets called and it creates a download list. It creates the download list and stores an array list of download info objects to it. Okay? Let's see here. There is also a get download info method that passes in a title and it returns a download info object, okay? Returns a reference to the download info object with requested title if it exists. So if the title exists in your object, it returns that title, else it returns null. So if it's in there, it returns a title, else it's null. Okay, so download list. Okay, so this is update the download. So we pass in a string list of titles. Okay, let's see here. There are no duplicate titles in download lists. No entries were removed from download lists. All songs and titles are represented in download lists. For each existing entry in download list, the download count is increased by the number of times it is appeared in the titles. Okay, so let's just move on. Write the music download method get download info, which returns a reference to download info object if an object with a title that matches the parameter list exists in the download list. If no song in download list has a title that matches the parameter title, it returns null. For example, suppose variable web music A refers to an instance of download music downloads, and that table below represents the contents of download list. The list contains 3 download info objects. The object at position 0 has a title Hey Jude and download count of 5. So it's been downloaded 5 times. The object at position 1 has Soul Sister and it's been downloaded 3. The object at position 2 has a title Aqualung, and its download count is 10. So if we get the download Aqualung, it returns a reference to the object in position 2 of the list. The call get download info when we pass in happy birthday returns null because there are no download info objects with that. Okay, cool. Alright, so let's think about this. There's 2 ways to do this, and for this one, the easiest way is to do the for each loop, okay? So what we want to do, we'll say for, so now remember, we're passing the title, so that'd be like the happy birthday or Aqualung or whatever. So we'll say for. Now, to do a for each loop, we have to do the we gotta download info. Okay, we've got to do this is the type, and it's a download info type, and we'll just call it info. And it will go through all of the download list, objects, okay? So it's going to go through your download list and run through that, okay? If info.getTitle, because we got to get the title, if that dot equals, if it's in there, the title, then we return the info object, okay? If none of them exist, if it's not in there, then we return null, okay? So info is a download info object, okay, in our download list. So right here, download info, okay, so that that info object is stored in our list, so it runs through each time. If it's there, it calls it calls get title, okay, which is right here. It calls that, okay, and if that dot equals the title that's passed in, then it returns this, else it returns null, okay. So the alternative way to do it, and AP does not like you doing it like this, so but I'll just show you because some of you are just gonna stick with this. So you need to do your normal for loop where you say int I equals 0, I is less than the download list dot size, I plus plus, and I'll show you why the AP people do not like this. So same thing, we return null if it's not found in there. But we got to do if the download list dot get at position I dot get title dot equals the title. Now, what happens here is students do not call the dot get at position I. They have the download list, but if you were to call, let's look at this download list. Download list is a list of download info objects. Okay? Without using the dot get at position I, you're returning the entire download list, which that doesn't work. You have to get at position I. And a lot of students do stuff like this, and then they get it wrong. Okay? This is why AP does not like using the for loop when doing these, especially with array lists, because students miss this right here, and then they miss a lot of points. All right. So if you're going to use an array list, you need to make sure, and in a for loop, you need to make sure you get what position you're at, and then you get the title, and then you check to see if it equals the title that's being passed in. Okay, and kids will mess this part up too. Same kind of thing. So if it exists, then we return download list dot get at position I dot get the title. Oops. Okay, and again, students will skip this part right here, and then they won't get their points because they didn't return the specific download list object. That returns the specific one, okay? Alright, so we're going to update the downloads. Part B. Let's see here. So write the music. Write the music download method update downloads, which takes a list of song titles as a parameter for each title in the list. The method updates download list either by implementing the download count if a download info object with the same title exists, or by adding a new download info object with that title and download count of 1 to the end of the list. When a new download info object is added to the end of the list, the order of the already existing entries in the download, so it remains unchanged. So for example, suppose variable web music B refers to an instance of download lists, and that the table below represents the contents of the instance variable download lists. Okay, so same thing as before. Assume the variable list string song. So now we've got a list of strings called song defined. It contains so lights, Aqualung, Soul Sister, Go Now, lights. Okay, so let's look at this. So lights, does it exist in here? No. So it would add it on there, and then it would have been downloaded one time after this one, all right? Aqualung exists, so we're not going to add it on to the end. We'll just add 1 to the number of times it's been downloaded. So that would give us that right there. Again, after the first one, lights would appear, but this would be 1, all right? Soul Sister exists, and so this would be 4, but it doesn't get added on to the end. Go Now gets added on after lights, and it's been downloaded 1 time, so 1 is there. Lights already exist, and it would have been the 2nd time, so that changes to 2. And Soul Sister already exists, and we already did it here, so that would have been 4, and then right here would make it 5. Okay. So the order doesn't get changed, so it would look exactly like that. Alright, so let's write update. So I'll show you how to do it both ways. Alright, again, this is one where you want to do the for each loop. So we would have for download info, whoops, wrong one. Sorry about that. I got distracted. Somebody came in my room. For string title, titles. Alright, so we're going to run through all the different titles, okay? We're going to do our download info, found info, get download info, title. Okay, so this is going, not info. So download, we're going to have a download info object called found info. And we're going to call the get download info right here. And we're going to pass that title in. And that's going to return either, you know, if it's there, it's going to return the title, or it's going to return null, okay? So that will be the title or null. All right? So if the found info is equal to null, meaning that there's not an object there, then we need to add it, okay? Then the download list, we dot add. So we got to use the dot add method for an array list. We add the new download info object, and we pass in that title, okay? And that is from way up here. Where is it at? Download info. Where's download info? Right here, download info. We pass in that string, okay? Now this is hard for kids too. You're passing in not just the title, you're passing in an object, a download info object, and you're adding that to the download list. Because remember, download list is a list of download info objects, and you're giving that title, okay? If it doesn't exist, if it does exist, then all you do is do found info, so that object dot increment times downloaded. And so it just calls the increment and adds one to it, okay? Now, and that's it basically. But the alternative let's do this. Is the for loop. And this, again, it looks real nasty. It's just a lot of for int I equals 0, I is less than the titles dot size. Same thing here. We have to do a download info, found info object. We get the download info, and the only real difference here is that titles we have to get at position I, okay? And then it's the same thing. If the found info, the found info equals null, we'll say download list dot add, and it's the same thing. We have to add that in. We have to add in the downfo list dot titles, but titles needs to be dot get at position I. Okay. Else the found info dot increment times downloaded. So not much different, but again, there's this whole for loop right here, and then the titles dot get that you have to memorize, all right? Whereas with the here, you're just going through the titles, and this is your placeholder that you're currently in. So anyway, study. This is actually a pretty hard one. This is one of the harder ones that I've seen for AP. So A isn't bad. B is a little bit more difficult. So anyway, this video is done.